we go. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Weekend No Show. My name is JG. I'm here with my boy, Mr. CL Smooth. What's up, man?
What's good, people?
Okay, and I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm going to introduce the man known as the Insidious LAT. What's up?
What's up, people?
Dark LAT in the house.
Okay.
Intro, man.
Okay. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I just wanted to prepare people that, all right. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to let you guys know today we're going to be talking about LSU's Angel Reese. There's a lot going on with her in the news right now. And superhero movie fatigue is a real thing. It's happening. I want to talk about that. And finally, we're going to talk about hip hop's 50th anniversary. So, Smooth, why don't you lead us off with Angel Reese? What's going on with her?
Yeah, so kind of interesting. A little sports topic for the audience today. So this year we had women's college basketball national championship. So it's a big national championship tournament, and bit of controversy sparked off. Where in the championship game, where you had LSU versus Iowa, LSU led by Angel Reese, who ended up being the tournament's most outstanding player, and Iowa led by Caitlin Clark, who was the national player of the year, the best women's basketball player in the country. So anyway, controversy sparked off because LSU tapped that ass, and then at the end of the game, Angel Reese started doing that. Where you kind of wave your hand in front of your own face, like you can't see me. And she starts pointing to her finger, like, put a ring on it type of thing. Right, like directly at Caitlin Clark, like mad trash talk. This is after the game, after they whooped Iowa's butt. And man, the media blew up. The media blew up on them, called Angel Reese all kind of classless and, unsportsmanlike, all kind of terrible, where's your kind of your championship mentality? Like, why would you ruin such a great event like that? But the funny thing about it is that and I should say that Caitlin is white and Angel Reese is black. But the funny thing about it is Caitlin Clark did the exact same thing like a game or two before the championship game to another player, South Carolina team, also a predominantly black team. So the white girl did, the kind of trash talking, and the media was like, "Oh, she's tough and it's funny, and she's giving it back to them." They were hyping her up.
Right.
This thing ever. Angel Reese did the exact same thing, and they just flipped the script. So it's kind of, I'm not one of those to like, lean into the whole racist thing, but man, was this a clear-cut example of racial hypocrisy. And it's really hard to pin it on anything else because, I mean, they both did the same exact thing. Now, to her credit, Caitlin Clark came out and was like, this is the game. She wasn't mad at Angel Reese at all. It's like, it's competitive and all that. So, she didn't try to, stomp on Angel at all. But some prominent sportscasters kind of went after her. But then other people came to Angel's defense, which I thought was good, and basically told those people to shut the hell up. I add one other interesting twist to this, and then we can get into it. So it's tradition in the United States that American sports champions visit the White House and the president after they've won a title. They do it for college sports. They do it for professional sports. It's a tradition, right?
Right.
So Jill Biden, the first lady, invites, and these Bidens, man, they got the thing about putting their foot in the mouth. She says, "Oh, I'm sure we're gonna have LSU come out to visit the White House and all of that, da da da. But you know what? We should have Iowa and Caitlin Clark and those guys also come because they play such a good game too." And that set up a second firestorm on this whole thing. Like, what do you mean? You're gonna invite the losers
Yes,
in the
yeah.
championship game? Is it just because Caitlin Clark's white and she's a superstar and all that? So we can get into more detail on that. That's enough background, but that's where we're at. I thought it was an interesting racial dynamic and political dynamic to discuss. So what you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that not being a sports person, I knew pretty much nothing about this, and after you kind of brought it up, and I said I better get into this, and it's so interesting to me because I I just care so little about sports. And I'm like, I just can't. What are you guys talking about? And they're talking about the sportsmanship, similar to when we were talking about Rihanna at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And they're talking about, oh, she's bringing down the whole event. What are you talking about? These people are throwing a ball around. It's like you can't really bring it down much further than that. But what I did find very interesting too was that I watched was she on with Malika Andrews was that, and she was talking about not accepting Jill Biden's apology, which apparently the first lady offered an apology, and so she's not accepting that, and then she wanted to go visit the Obamas instead of the Bidens.
Right.
And I thought, well, that may be a bit much there. Maybe you should just take your ass to the White House like you're supposed to, and whatever, get it over with.
But yes, I guess she ultimately ended up accepting the invite, and I guess she's going. Her and the rest of the
Oh, okay.
She's joining the.
So she is going.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the next day or two, she walked it back, decided she'd go.
Yeah,
right. That's probably for the best. And I don't know how much you guys saw from what she was saying. Is how she was putting herself out there like, hey, I want to be this role model for girls who look like me. And she said that, oh, Jill Biden shouldn't have invited them, and she should have been for all women or something. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not really quite sure how she was trying to say Jill Biden was. I'm not sure if she's saying she was racist and that the race was trumping the thing for feminism.
right. So I mean, I'm not one to defend the Bidens, but I think Jill was just kind of like, you know what, both teams played a good game. Let's celebrate, both of y'all. But that's breaking with tradition, which is fuck that. The winner gets the spoils.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, interesting thing about this, it's multi-layered, like most things in life are. I can understand the argument and the criticism that there was some race involved in this because it's just not done right. It's just I know you guys aren't deep into sports, but it's just something that's not. It was real weird what Joe Biden did, and there's a piece of you that gotta think like, okay, and just to say, Caitlin Clark, the white player, like she could ball. She's no joke. Like she's got real talent. She's very good. So I have to give her props. And Angel Reese too. I mean, obviously she was the outstanding player of the tournament. But there's a piece that's like, okay, you got this white superstar from the Midwest. If Caitlin Clark was some black girl from Iowa, would Jill Biden have made the same invitation? Who knows, right? We're all just speculating. I have some doubt that she would do that. But there's another layer to it that I think might be closer to the mark, which is, Biden is planning on running for president again in 24. And, Iowa is like the first, the first primary, a major primary.
yeah.
And so she's a big star in Iowa. You know what I'm saying? I think there was some politics in there too. So I'm not saying there was no racism. I think there might be just, maybe like a half teaspoon of racism in there. But there was a lot of politics. And then the other piece of it too is, I mean, Jill Biden ain't known as no huge sports fan. She don't know. I think at the end of the day, she had no clue what the protocol was with that you don't do something like that.
That's probably more like it. That and politics. Yeah.
Yeah, I lean more in that direction. Although there's a little taste of something in there, with the race. Just a little pinch of salt on
to
that
spice it up. Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to mention is and this might lead us in a whole nother direction, but this women's tournament was the most watched in their entire history, is my understanding. They broke all kinds of records for people showing up in person, I think, and also TV watching. So it was a great event for women, and even all this controversy, to be honest, is great for the women's game. Controversy sells tickets, also. And I gotta say, I'm happy for them, and I'm glad for them. I'm glad that they got so much notoriety, for the play, because I got to tell you, man, it has been annoying me no end when I hear stuff like WNBA players and other players, other people saying about how the NBA and professional men's sports should be supporting women's sports by giving them some money. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't get paid enough and all that. I mean, that annoys me no end.
Yeah, you get paid from the tickets, right?
Correct. You get paid from the audience that you bring in. And now the college women have shown that, hey, they can put together a product that people want to watch. And you have to remember that women make up more than 50% of our population, and they spend more money on average than men do. So I don't want to hear all that stuff when it comes to women's sports and stuff like that. Men do support them, but I don't want to hear that we should be carrying them, and that's kind of what we can probably do another topic later on with the WNBA and those kind of comments that some of their athletes have made. But anyway, I'm happy for women's sports, and it's sad that it got the controversy, but that'll probably end up benefiting them in the long run anyway. So
Well, let me ask you that as an outsider, I don't know anything about this. So, what is the name of the white player?
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. So, is Caitlin Clark a great white hope, or are there a lot of white players, white girls playing in the college basketball, or is that why this is? She's their great white hope.
Well, see, I think people could label it that, but she's too good to be labeled that way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, she was the national player of the year. And I watched some highlights of her and I was like, oh, she could ball.
No, so I mean, I'm not saying that it's made up. I'm just saying, are there other white girls who are playing? And
I usually think of the term like great white hope, like they're not really that good. They're blowing them up more than they are. She's actually that good. She deserves all her praise.
Sure.
But yeah, the thing is, with women's basketball, college and pro, it's not as dominated, I don't think, by Black athletes like men's sports tend to be.
It's not.
Yeah. So there's a lot more white women who have really been exceptional in professional and college basketball. I mean, Black women also as well, but
that's what I wanted to know. I mean, I didn't know that. So yeah. Okay, fair and square.
So I'm gonna go back to what you were talking about earlier about this having the bet, about this particular tournament having the best numbers that any tournament has had for NCAA. But isn't that just because all the top seeds got knocked out before the Final Four, and that made it interesting? Because I mean, I don't watch it that, but I do know that every year, it's UConn and somebody else for women at least, and and then UConn got knocked out, and then it became interesting all of a sudden. And I think that's why people started watching it, because it's kind of like the Super Bowl back when New England kept winning. No one gave a fuck about the Super Bowl because it was like, oh, New England's going to win again. And I think because UConn and a couple of the other top seeds got knocked out, that made this tournament actually interesting. So people wanted to watch it.
Well,
and so I think that's why their numbers were so big. I don't know if women's NCAA, basketball is making a big upswing or anything, but I know this particular tournament was just interesting because a lot of people who weren't supposed to make it to the final eight made it to the final eight.
Yeah, well, actually, that was the men's tournament.
Oh, was that the men?
Yeah, man. It was the men's tournament. Damn.
That was
I thought it was the women's. Okay,
for all the number one seeds. Hey, man, listen. Bro, we appreciate on behalf of sports fans everywhere, we appreciate you dipping your toes into the sports water, man.
Yeah. What is you ignorant? Damn.
No. This is not comparing women's tournament to men's sports, but just in comparison to other years for women's tournament, this has been a great turnout. And so they did well.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, all right. I'm still not watching WNBA games. The motherfuckers are boring.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I tend not to either, but like there's certain women's sports I do really enjoy. Like I've always enjoyed like women's Olympic soccer. I always watch them when they're in the Olympics or like the World Cup.
Okay.
And different like women's Olympic events I really enjoy. So, it's not, and I think a lot of guys are like that who are into sports. It's like there's certain sports we like. Some we just watch on occasion. But I'd like to see women, particularly ardent feminists that are always coming after men, to be like, okay, well, put your money where your mouth is and support these women. Go to 1 or 2 games a year. Watch a game on TV or support them on their social media or whatever. Because when you do that, that brings revenue to those women's sports, which allows them to hire people, allows more media to come in, which allows the media to hire more people. So it's I just want to see folks stop complaining so much and start doing stuff, especially when it's a simple task, man. But anyway, I think the gist of this is that it was kind of a negative moment that is actually a good moment for women's sports, and so hopefully they'll continue to build on it.
So are they still serving? Are they still serving McDonald's at when they bring the college people to the White House? Or is that strictly Trump?
I think that was just Trump.
That was a Trump thing.
I think that was a Trump thing, man.
Hey, you know how you guys honed your bodies into physical perfection? Now we're about to mess that up. Here's this Big Mac.
Right.
Eat this.
Bowling Green. Yeah.
That's right. So that's all I got about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, man.
Okay, well, let's move on to something really important then, and that's superheroes.
Man,
I want to move on to something very important, and that's the thing I want to talk about now. If we look at James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, he just had a recent interview in Rolling Stone where he did, in fact, bring up the topic of superhero fatigue. And I've been seeing this term all around. People are getting tired of these movies. And I guess the disappointing returns of Black Adam and Quantumania, of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I guess the sales were disappointing, and they're blaming superhero fatigue on this. And James Gunn even says something to the effect of, it's not the superheroes themselves, it's the stories. And if the stories, he says that if the stories aren't emotional, then people are not going to connect with them. And he's also saying that that maybe we should just slow down a little bit. And if every movie is spectacle from beginning to end, then people just can't get engaged with these movies. And so I looked at it, and I also saw a thread on Twitter where it was legendary creator Rob Liefeld, and Liefeld is a controversial creator, but I mean, I call him legendary because he made a lot of dope stuff. He made up Cable, he made up Deadpool, and people have problems with him, but I tend to be on the side where it's like, you know what, whether he didn't like to draw feet famously, I don't give a damn about those feet. He made some stuff that I liked. But what Rob Liefeld said was, well, I guess Blue Beetle, which is an upcoming movie, he said Blue Beetle is going to go on the shelf with a bunch of other movies like Shazam 2, Black Adam, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Doctor Strange 2. He says he's not interested in these movies anymore. And there was a lot of debate. It was a very long thread where, a lot of people insulted him, and then they were saying that he needs to support these movies. And as far as I'm concerned, if he doesn't like them, he doesn't have to support those. They need to make good movies. I don't think it's his job to always go see these movies and always promote these movies. And people were then saying, hey, if we want more of these movies, you've got to support them. You got to go see them. And as far as I'm concerned, I look at it like, I enjoy these movies. I don't know if I will go see them. I don't know if I go out and see them. I will see them streaming. I will watch most of them. But if they're not good, I don't owe them anything. Nobody owes the superhero franchises anything. You better make something good. And I think that they're going to have to slow down on this. And Marvel actually has. Marvel's production has now, they had a lot of things in the pipeline. Now they're going to really slow down on their production. And I think it's because I think there's some superhero fatigue, but I also think a lot of the stuff isn't good that's coming out. So they're trying to blame, oh, it's fatigue. It's just something that inevitably happens. Well, not really, because and then what Rob Liefeld actually said is something that I said. He said, I think the golden age of superhero movies is behind us. And when I look at what Marvel did when they started with Iron Man 2008 all the way to Endgame, and I don't know if a lot of people remember, you guys both saw Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
And,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the cave, remember? And he was just pounding. He was making that first suit of armor, clang, clang, clang. And a lot of people didn't get to the end of Endgame. At the very end of Endgame, after the credits, you're expecting something. Only thing you hear is clang, clang. They're just calling back to that original Iron Man. And that whole Infinity Saga, I mean, Avengers, we really had something special there for a while. And now it's gone. I think they need to just chill and stop, pushing crap out and just really just retool and do something that is going to build into something good again. I think they're just putting stuff out just to do it. So I know, I'm probably more into these than you guys, but what do you guys think?
I think I am a little fatigued, but I'm also excited because when they put out, because Marvel put out their whole, they do their phases, and I don't know what phase they're on now, phase 5 or whatever.
It's phase 5.
Okay, so I'm excited to see some of those movies, some of those future movies, but a lot of this sort of filler is I'm not interested. Let's just do Secret Wars already. Most of us know. You guys have set the stage. So let's just skip ahead. We don't need 5 movies between now and Secret Wars before you can do Secret Wars. So I feel like the Quantum Mania and all these kind of like boring films that have been coming out, those are just kind of setups, kind of like just to keep people interested. But it's like you don't have to do that. In fact, people will be more interested if you don't put out a movie for a couple years, and
that's
then,
what I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I am a little fatigued, quite frankly, because a lot of comic book collectors or a lot of people who are into that were completists, and so we need to see all the shit. and as a result, we end up watching bullshit movies because we just in case there's an Easter egg or something, we need to see it. But luckily, YouTube's out there, and I don't have to watch these movies anymore. I just watch the recaps on YouTube. So, but yeah, I'm a little over it, man. And
okay.
This is coming from man.
Okay, what about you, Smooth?
Yeah, man. I think whenever you put out a bunch of the same thing, there's going to be some of that fatigue. But I think it's more about, are the stories good? Is it being told well? I mean, if they were putting out, really good stories and compelling stories, I think, you wouldn't feel as much fatigue with it. It wouldn't feel as stale. So now I haven't really watched anything, any of their latest movies. I think the most recent one that I saw was, what was the last Doctor Strange one?
Oh, the multiverse of madness.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that was like, all right,
And
but
that
like,
was just a setup. That whole movie was just a setup for a future movie.
Right. I got you. I mean, I think your point is well taken, Vel. But it's like, you can, can't you do a setup that's also a good story? Because I mean, I just like and you guys again are more expert in this than me. But isn't there just a plethora of written comic stories that are just really good, really compelling that they can pull from? I mean, why is that not translating on these setup stories into good movies that people are enjoying?
It doesn't translate because a lot of the times the movie people think they know better and they change it. Mm-hmm. And they forget why it was a popular story and they decide to put their own mark on it. But a lot of it too is that the good stories, the really awesome stories. When you look at Avengers, you look at Iron Man, and at the very end, Nick Fury comes in and says, "I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." Very exciting. You're starting something. This is something that hasn't been done before. The thrill of discovery is over. I mean, and if we look in the 1960s when the Avengers got together, like holy crap, the kids were like, oh, Thor and Iron Man and Hulk and Ant-Man. Wow, they were in separate comics
for the
before.
price of one, yeah.
And now they're in this one comic. And and then we're doing that in the movies. And it hadn't been done before, but now it has. And the luster is kind of worn off. So that's why I think just like what LAT was saying, and I'm saying too, is like maybe they just need to really chill and give us a couple years to just retool, really look at some of those better stories and hit those. But we don't ever have a chance to, chill. They keep pushing out kind of dreck, which actually, and look at what's happening with DC. James Gunn, who we're talking about, who is now in control of the DC Comics movie universe. And they finally realized that we can't just keep pushing out crap, which is what they were doing. Crap movie after crap movie. And finally they were like, we need to really structure this. So I think it can work if done in moderation, but boy, even I was like, oh, what's coming out now? Come on, you guys. What is this?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't DC have a completed Batgirl movie that they just said, fuck that, shelve that shit? We're never sure on that. Okay.
Was that with some sister too?
I think so. Yeah. Or a racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
We don't know if it was a sister or a Mexican. She had brown skin though.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, they got rid of that. And they were like, you know what, we're tired of getting clowned. We're not putting this out.
I'm kind of excited to I mean, I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but to check out that Blade reboot with Mahershala Ali.
Yes. That I am excited about.
See, that goes back to the reboot thing for me. I'm just like, I don't know if you can improve on, well, the first two at least. That last Blade with Wesley was bullshit. But I don't know if you can improve on Wesley's Blade, man.
We're gonna find out. I know he talked to Wesley Snipes. So
did he? Okay.
That made me really think that this could be something. Let's see what he brings to it. And that was the only good thing about that terrible Eternals movie. Eternals is one of those movies that Marvel really thought they could just put out anything. It was terrible. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was
oh my God. And the only thing at the very end, when you're looking for that post-credit scene, and there's the guy from Game of Thrones, Kit Harington. He was playing a character named Dane Whitman. And for comic people, we know that's the Black Knight. He's an Avenger, the Black Knight. And he's about to pick up the Ebony Blade, which is a cursed sword. And I'm like, oh God, he's about to pick that up.
That's my new nickname.
What?
My new nickname is Ebony Blade.
Man, I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to set the scene.
Man, ain't no kind of professional. I mean,
talking about.
Come on, Ebony Blade.
Yeah, man. Damn. Anyways, so he's about to pick up this blade, and then from off screen, we hear Mahershala Ali say, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I thought, oh man, it's Blade, and then it just cut off. They didn't actually show him.
Right.
That was the best thing about that Eternals movie. his voice at the end.
The post-credit scene was the best thing.
Yeah. Thanks, Ebony Blade, for interrupting my setup there.
Ebony Blade strikes again.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think we ran our course on that one, but we're fatigued of superhero fatigue. So let's move on, and let's talk about hip hop's 50th anniversary. LAT, man. Oh, excuse me, Ebony Blade, please.
So, first of all, can y'all believe hip hop is 50 years old? What the fuck? That makes me feel old.
Yeah,
because I feel like I've been, I feel like I've been there for most of it, but damn.
We definitely been there for most of it.
Oh,
Wait, no, hip hop is older than 50, man.
Well, not according to Rolling Stone and the Grammys. But yeah, I mean, if you consider hip hop is an extension of
I mean, it's got to be right around there. It's got to be right around there.
No, well, hip hop as we know it, hip hop as we know it is 50 years old.
Yeah.
Because if hip hop is an extension of pardon me, I'm not Jamaican. What the Jamaican patois rhythm, or I don't know what that means.
It came from dance hall.
Okay.
And in Jamaica they had their DJs, their live DJs used to, rap and say funny shit and diss and whatnot in the breaks and the records, and then they brought that to the United States into to New York, and then it became rap and hip hop and all that.
Well, so hip hop is apparently 50 years old, but a little side note is that I don't know if y'all knew this, De La Soul, you could not get their music, you could not stream their music because they had a fucked up contract. And then I guess a couple of days, I mean, it had nothing to do with his death, but a couple days after, was it which one just passed? It wasn't Pasta News, the other one, Plug 2. A couple of days after Plug 2 passed, De La's catalog is available for streaming now. So back in the day, you could not listen to 3 Feet High and Rising. You couldn't stream it until just recently. And so I thought that was interesting that, finally we can get, De La, and hip hop's turning 50. And it's just a weird thing because I haven't fucked with hip hop, and I haven't really fucked with hip hop in the last 10 years or so, just because, I don't know, maybe I'm leaning into my old age, but I don't fuck with anything that came out after the early aughts.
Yeah, so it can be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a subject to talk about or anything that really. I just wanted to bring it up that, wow, fellas, hip hop's 50. hip hop is as old as me.
Yeah, and remember when it was like, this is a fad. This is just going to go away. This is a fad. Right. It was. I remember people telling me things like, rap is only on 1 hour a night on MTV, and that's because that's going to go away soon, and every year they kept saying it's going away, and there was a time when it didn't make that much money. It didn't make as much as rock. That time is long since passed with the kind of money these guys are bringing. I'm speaking a little bit from ignorance here, but my understanding is like a lot of these new rappers, they, their first album, they're making millions, on their first album. Whereas, somebody like, I don't know, let's say LL, might have made $100,000, for his radio album or something like that. And I just like, it's a full-fledged industry within itself. Hip hop, aside from rock, aside from music, aside from all music, is a machine now, which is kind of cool. I mean, I dig it. Is that y'all said it was a fad, but y'all was wrong. But I also miss that it used to be, for me, it was kind of special because I felt like I was part of this this exclusive community, which is no longer exclusive at all. That shit is everywhere. So yeah, it's everywhere now. Yeah, and I remember I just watched the video for KRS-One Duck Down just the other day. And it struck me how little money he had to make that video. Remember, most of the videos from back then were just these guys in their neighborhood walking down the street, in the alley, in the park, on the street. They didn't have money to make a really compelling video. And that's what had to get done. It's just really, yeah. And I think a lot of what you're saying too about how they didn't make that much money back in the days because they didn't have the knowledge. Right now, they got ripped off. A lot of them got taken, and now the knowledge is out there. You're not supposed to be getting ripped off like this. And people have
kind of like De La.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like De La, they didn't. Yeah, the reason why they weren't streamed is because they didn't have control of their masters. Yeah, because they signed a bullshit contract, and they had to fight that shit for fucking 20 years before they finally got control over their masters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Right. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing that that Dave Chappelle talks about with his Comedy Central show, and how he ended up not really even owning
right.
his intellectual property. And this is something that's like it's taboo. We can't really talk about it, but it's been happening forever. I think things have gotten a little bit better these days. I mean, people are making more money, but um, you know, black black performers, whether it's arts, entertainment, uh, sports, whatever, um, have historically and even some extent currently not controlled the industry that they dominate, that they created, that has captured the world's attention. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Oh, for
have
sure.
such prominence culturally in all these different areas. For good and for bad. It's a mixed bag sometimes. But we don't control the industry. Other people control the industry. And if you try to talk about that dynamic, then talk about getting canceled. Talk about getting shut down. It's part of what happened to Kanye. I mean, he came out a little bit crazy with the way he was talking, but it's
A
not
little
like
crazy.
it's not like there's no truth in what he's saying, right? Now he it didn't come across in the most positive way, but there are forces that have controlled black people through their entertainment and culture, and really to me have had like a parasitic type relationship with us, man. They're making the money. They're owning the masters. Chappelle talks about the contracts they have you sign, where you sign away all your rights in perpetuity throughout the universe, like crazy language.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they own you, and yeah, you might be getting paid relatively well, but they own what you created. How is that right, man? How is that right? Business is supposed to be two parties come together, right, in a mutual exchange of benefit, right? Mutual value is shared. But there are organizations and entities that they don't want mutual benefit. They want all that shit. They want it all, you know.
That
And
just
so
means, moving forward, when people sign those contracts, they need to make sure they get paid big time up front. Like, listen, yeah, y'all can have this shit in perpetuity, but it's gonna cost y'all 100 mil up top.
if you have the leverage,
I think as we get control of the distribution methods and such, it's becoming less and less necessary to have these people, to have publishers and such. Well,
right,
kind of, sort of. I mean, when you have to bring I'm well aware when you have to bring your own audience, it becomes very difficult. Ostensibly you're on a level playing field, like on the internet, but for now, these publishers, they have the audience, they have the marketing dollars, they have the ears of important people, and it's tough to replicate what they can provide. But eventually, I think we will get there where these guys aren't needed anymore. You go right to your fans, right to the people.
And you guys, did you guys used to watch Shark? I mean, I guess it's still on, but it's not on free TV anymore. Did y'all used to watch Shark Tank?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I never really
So that
watched
used
it.
to be my shit.
Yeah.
That used to be my shit, but then I realized that those, I mean, it's got the perfect name. Those dudes are those and women, those guys are fucking sharks. Because they'll be like, yeah, yeah, we'll help you start your business, but again, but in for the rest of your life, you kicking me back 20%.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's that bullshit. And I was always shocked when people would be like, because every once in a while somebody would be like, nah, I'm good. And I'd be like, you fucking fool. but then I'm just like, wait a minute, you know what? There's something to that. They're like, nah, fuck that. I'm not giving you 20% of my earnings for the rest of my life for your fucking $100,000 investment.
Well, look at what Prince did when nobody understood when he pieced out, changed his name.
Yeah.
And he kept trying to educate people about the music industry. And then when he would perform those songs, he would insist, this is a cover song. I'm not performing this song. This is a cover song of Prince. And
right.
when it was laughable at first, he changed his name to this symbol. But the more we start learning about these record companies, these publishing deals, I mean, they just, were bending people over, and they just got away with it, and they're going to keep getting away with it until people find a way around them.
Didn't your favorite artist, what's her name? Taylor Swift. Didn't she basically have to re-record all of her music because
Smooth.
kind of the
Taylor Swift, your favorite artist?
Man, I don't know nothing about no Taylor Swift. I don't think I've ever heard one of her songs. I don't know what you're talking about.
But apparently she had to re-record all her music because the record company owned that shit that she recorded. She's like, all right, fine. I'm just gonna re-record this shit, and now what I'm releasing is my version, which is essentially the same song. I mean, they may have changed a note or a word here and there, but yeah, she had to re-record all of her music because
she still has to pay, right?
Well, I mean, I guess whenever, yeah, she still gives them a little something, but she gets more money now because they're not. So those original recordings, which is what they were streaming and people were buying, I guess the record company was getting the payload from that.
I mean, so rappers are getting hunted down for a loop for some sample, hunted down and vilified, and then Taylor Swift gets to re-record a whole song.
Oh yeah.
Man, listen, it's like sharecropping. You remember that term, sharecropping?
Yeah.
So for the audience that may not be as familiar, this is way back before our times when somebody owned a whole bunch of land, and then they would parcel out smaller pieces of that land for independent farmers to farm that land. But the farmer didn't own that land. He was basically, given X percentage of his crop and his earnings or whatever back to the guy who owned the land.
Right.
And we look at that today and we say, well, that's just business. He owned the land. He's hiring people to work the land, whatever. But it's a fundamental, again, parasitic mindset of I'm going to benefit off of the creative efforts of other people to a disproportionate amount. I'm all for people like, I'm making an investment, I want to cover my risk, and I want a real nice reward at the end. I have no problem with that. That's good for business, that's good for the economy. But this shit where people are like, damn, you damn sold your soul just to get on. And if you don't sign the contract, you're not getting on. That's the way it used to be. Now it's a little more, few more avenues to break through on your own these days. But back in the day, that's why Chappelle had to do what he had to do. And other artists signed those crazy, I'm sure De La didn't want to sign that damn deal. But it's like,
yeah, I mean, they were 17 when they,
they didn't know any better.
You throw $100,000 in front of me when I'm 17. I'd be like, hand me that fucking pen right now.
Look at what happened to TLC. I mean, they thought the money was coming,
Yeah. So, but hip hop's 50, and with age comes experience and knowledge, and I'm thinking these new heads. They're gonna go into it with clearer eyes than our generation went into it. Our generation just wanted to get on stage and flex. But these new kids, hopefully they're coming into it with with some business acumen, or at least people like us being like, hey motherfucker, you better read that contract. At least hopefully their uncles are like, let me take a look at that, bro.
Yeah, they want to get in the studio now with the auto tune. Is that still a thing? Is auto-tune still a thing?
I'm sure it is. I don't listen to the radio, but it's got to be. It's so easy.
Yeah.
I'm like Kanye.
Yeah.
I'm like Kanye.
Okay, well, on that note, before we go even further on like Gen Z or anything, let's go ahead and get out of here and wrap this one up, guys. I think, Hip Hop 50. Wow, guys, that is something else. Happy birthday, hip hop. So let's go ahead and break out. And if you guys like this show, please like and share and subscribe and leave comments. Let us know what you thought. We like to engage with you guys. And at that point, we're going to go ahead and step out. So let's peace out, guys.
Peace,
fellas.